Have you ever wondered why the peak of shopping happiness ends the very moment you touch the product? Why is the checkout button like an emergency exit for anxieties you can't even name? The truth doesn't lie in your wallet. It lies in a sophisticated invasion of the deepest structures of the human brain, the ancient reward system. Many people believe they are broke due to financial weakness or being tempted by the beauty of a product. But in reality, you are a victim of a dopamine hacking campaign programmed by algorithms capable of reading your loneliness. We don't buy objects. We are buying a local anesthetic for a nervous system overloaded in an uncertain world. When you see a bright red 70% off tag, it's not a number. It's a signal that triggers the amygdala. Your primitive brain immediately interprets this discount as a rare resource that must be seized for survival. At that exact moment, a wave of dopamine surges through the striatum, creating a fake but incredibly intense state of euphoria. Scientists call this state anticipatory dopamine. It doesn't come from possession, but from the expectation of possession. Dopamine is the chemical of the hunt, not of satisfaction. It drives you to act. It suffocates the voice of the prefrontal cortex, the final fortress of reason and logic. E-commerce platforms don't sell goods. They sell neuro-experiences fine-tuned to be addictive. A flashing countdown timer isn't just a marketing tool. It's an impulse that pushes you into survival mode. In this state, your ability for long-term thinking is completely shut down to make way for immediate predatory instincts. The system is so sophisticated that it knows exactly when your willpower is weakest to send a last chance push notification. It teaches the wounded child within you that its worth only exists when it has something new to show off. It makes us adults forget that time is the only non-renewable asset, only to exchange it for soulless plastic items. You didn't save 50% of your money. You just sacrificed your autonomy to an illusion of fake abundance. There is a brutal paradox. The more things we buy to fill the void, the wider that void becomes. Because material goods can never resolve psychological conflicts belonging to the cognitive and emotional layers. Every package delivered to your door is actually a mask to cover an invisible fear. The fear of being left behind by society. We live in an era where existence is recognized through consumption instead of contribution or thought. The truth is, you aren't broke because of low income. You are broke because you are paying the price for a distorted frame of success. We are being led by tech giants, those who know your neural map better than you do yourself. In the next deep layer, we will dissect the intermittent reinforcement mechanism, the thing that keeps you stuck in a perpetual consumption loop. You will understand why you crave an item even when you know for sure it will gather dust in a cabinet after just 1 week. This is not just a video about money. This is a journey to reclaim the mental territory invaded by consumerism. Don't let the chemical waves in your brain decide who you are and where you are going. Pause for a moment. Breathe into that emptiness and start seeing the strings that are pulling you. Why do we repeat the same financial mistakes even after tasting the bitter regret of the previous month? There is a dark psychological mechanism operating below your conscious threshold called intermittent reinforcement. This is exactly what keeps gamblers at slot machines and what keeps you glued to shopping applications. If every time you entered an app you saw the same price, your brain would quickly adapt and lose interest. But commerce giants do not allow that to happen by turning consumption into a high-stimulus game of chance. They release flash sales, hidden vouchers, and unannounced golden hours to keep you on edge. It is this uncertainty that causes the brain to release 3 times more dopamine than a guaranteed reward. You are not addicted to the physical product. You are addicted to the thrill of the hunt and the victory of a bargain. In the deep layers of the mind, we are trying to solve a spiritual pain with a tangible physical action. Whenever you feel stuck at work or lonely in relationships, shopping appears as a temporary escape hatch. Psychologists call this retail therapy. But in reality, it is a form of emotional avoidance through creating a temporary self. You buy an expensive camera, and in that moment, you believe you have become an artist instead of facing your own emptiness. You buy trendy clothes to drape yourself in a confidence borrowed from the gaze of strangers on the street. Brands do not sell products. They are selling you identity masks to hide your internal fragmentation. This system is so sophisticated that it creates a guilt loop called the shame cycle to keep you trapped forever. After the euphoria of payment comes a sudden drop in happiness hormones, leading to feelings of regret and emptiness. And to relieve that guilt, you are lured into the next sale as a way to find an instant painkiller again. Our nervous systems have been trained to react to spending money as a survival reflex in an environment full of artificial scarcity. Do you notice that apps always ask you to turn on notifications so they can invade your private space at any time? That is how they maintain a permanent presence in your mind, ensuring you never have enough silence to think about true needs. The brutal truth is that you are using money exchanged for time and youth to buy possession instead of freedom. We are hoarding soulless objects to fill a soul that is exhausted from the lack of substantive connections. Every item you buy but don't use is a testament to the fact that you are trying to buy back a part of life you feel you've lost. But no package is large enough to fill the black hole of lacking direction and life purpose. The biggest enemy of your wallet is not inflation or taxes, but the lack of capacity to face your own negative emotions. In the next chapter, we will expose the deepest layer of this trap: status assimilation, and how society uses consumption to classify humans. You will realize that being broke is sometimes just the result of trying to wear a coat too tight, named social standards. This battle is not in the wallet, but in who will drive your emotional ship during long, lonely nights. Look at your shopping cart and ask yourself, is this what I need, or is this what I use to prove that I still exist? When you start asking that question, that is when the control strings begin to loosen and autonomy begins to return. Why do we feel a vague sense of fear when standing outside a consumer trend sweeping through social media? Deep in your genetic code, separation from the tribe once meant death and elimination in nature. Modern society has weaponized this survival instinct into a frame of reference called status anxiety. Corporations do not sell products to you. They are selling you tickets to be recognized within an artificial social order. You don't buy a new phone for its technology, but because you fear that without it, you will become invisible to others. Consumerism has subtly turned objects into social signals used to classify status and success. The tragedy is that when everyone uses material things to prove worth, the threshold for recognition is constantly pushed higher. This is a rat race on an endless wheel where the finish line is always moving, leaving you exhausted financially and mentally. The system needs you to be in a constant state of deficit because a person who feels whole is no longer a potential customer. They build magnificent shopping cathedrals to make you feel small and in need of being filled by new invoices. This makes us adults covered in brand name masks, while inside lies a fragmented self. Do you notice that your confidence is often proportional to what you wear, rather than what you have in your mind? That is the result of long-term programming, making us believe our existence is defined by our ability to pay. But this does not mean you must reject all comforts or choose an extreme, austere life in the heart of the city. True freedom does not start with cutting credit cards, but with restructuring the value system within your mind. Escaping the broke trap is a cognitive revolution when you begin to see through the glitz of marketing campaigns. The truth is, financial freedom lies not in the bank balance, but in the space between a shopping stimulus and your tranquility. When you can stand before an addictive discount sign and feel completely neutral, that is when you regain control. You are inherently valuable, even without owning any status symbols woven by modern society. Every time you say no to an artificial need is a time you are buying back hours of freedom for yourself in the future. Remember that the ultimate luxury is not the most expensive item, but the ability not to be manipulated by dopamine waves. True wealth is not measured by what you accumulate, but by what you are no longer dependent on to feel happy. Don't let algorithmic giants continue writing your life script through discount notifications and peer pressure. Pause for a moment. Look at the emptiness you have been running from and realize it can only be filled by connection and purpose. The journey to healing your wallet is actually a journey back to the original self, where you need no one's permission to feel whole. The war against the consumer trap is a war to reclaim sovereignty over your precious time and life energy. Ultimately, you will realize that the greatest joy lies not in the moment of possession, but in the moment you realize you no longer need it. Choose to live a conscious life, where every cent spent is a vote for a free and meaningful future instead of a temporary possession. We were not born to be slaves to packages or numbers in some corporation's revenue report. You are the one who writes the answer to the question of who you are, instead of letting a brand put a price tag on you.